Good evening, one and all. Welcome to this work session, January 23rd, 2025, for the Urbanna Town Council. Let's have a call to order. Do you want me to do that, or do you want to do it? I will stick with what I've done in the past. Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Beth Justice.
Here.
Mary Hanson.
Here.
Welcome back. I am here. Larry Tuning.
I'm here.
Marjorie Austin.
Here.
Having a quorum, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have nobody participating electronically. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Being approved, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Anybody signing up for public comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Well, we haven't heard anything yet to comment on.
No news is good news, Christy.
Yep.
All right. Who's, Dad, are you leading this? Mr. Costin will now go over.
Can I ask, is Andrea okay?
She was sick at the last one,
Okay.
and this being a work session, we told her that it would be better for her to, at least when I talked to her, I told her it was better for her to be working on what everybody has as their number one priority.
Right.
Than to spend the town time here for a work session.
Right.
And I think Mr. Costin said the same thing.
Yes, that's correct. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you a quick review on the next and only big item that we have on the agenda this evening, which is somewhat of a strategic planning process, but certainly a coming together of minds on what are your priorities. So the individual top five, let me say this. Thank you for your timely and on-point responses. I've attempted this before, and it was very apparent to me that you all took your time, thought about this, and took it seriously. So I appreciate it. If you start it seriously, it'll be serious. Now, each person's number one was weighted 5 points, their number two 4 points, and so on down the line to number 5, which got 1 point. I did take some liberty to combine if I thought it was the same thing. Look at it this way: tomato, tomato, a red piece of fruit. It's all the same thing. So if somebody phrased something slightly different than somebody else, but I knew that they were talking about the same thing, I combined those. I'm confident, though, that you'll see each of your inputs, and each of your inputs are at your desk so that you can review, because I eliminated any explanation or justification you gave me. I just went with the item. That would be yours to share or not as the exercise progresses. But again, you have those at your place. One council member asked what the staff thought. So I did this process with the staff, and you have that complete list in front of you. So this is all now information available to you to determine as a group what are the priorities for the town. Now, I asked for 5 simply because that makes the scoring work. But you can have less than 5, more than 5. I just ask that you keep in mind the size of your staff and the financial factors. Okay. One final thought, and I'm going to share it exactly as it happened with me. When I was in grad school, I took a statistics class, and what the professor had written at the top of the syllabus was there are lies, darn lies, not exactly what he wrote on the syllabus, and statistics. Okay, so with that in mind, let's start to look at the numbers. So there are your top items. So let's go down through this. So town hall purchase scored 27. 4 of you scored at number 1, 1 scored at number 2, 1 scored at number 3. Total score is 27. The next number, which I think is important, is how many of you all scored it at all? Okay, so that's almost unanimity right there. Water line repair, across the board, 5 4s. Grant revenue, seeking grant revenue, that type of thing. You can read it for yourself. 14, 3 of you. Pool cost, total of 8. 3 people on line with that. Signage name of the Payne Landing Indoor Virginia Street Terminus, that's kind of one that I combined because I felt like it was the same project. 2 people, 6 total. Oyster Festival participation, Oyster Festival return, 2 people for a total of 4. Work prioritization with the board, focusing on town benefit. That's kind of what we're doing tonight. 2 people. That's an error. They should be 2 people. But the total is correct, 1 and 3. And then 1 person gave me 6, so I took 5 and 6 and gave them both a half a point. So zoning enforcement came out to 1.5, 2 people. All right, the column on the right-hand side, this is everything that somebody said, but it didn't get a second person all to the right. So like performance evaluations, some 1 scored that 4, street signs, some 1 scored that 3. So you can see the list for yourself. Okay, so roll to the next one, please. Okay, council thoughts. This is everybody's individual 5, or in one case 6. Okay. And we can make copies of this for folks or send it out if you want it. Give you all a moment to look at that. And the next one, please, was the final 3. Again, it's all on the program in front of you. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, what's not on the list? This was some things that I thought was interesting. These never came up.
Because it creates too much turmoil within the town.
That might be the reason.
Cats are definitely something to get you killed, so
And buzzards.
stay away
and-
from those.
But these are things that, things that have been come across my desk in the last year, and I was like, they weren't on the list. And there might be others. I'm sure there are others. That's why I had the continuation. But those were just 4 that came to my mind. Next item, please.
At what point do we comment? I don't want to break the rules.
Let me go through the whole thing. It's just one
Okay.
or 2 more slides.
Okay.
And then we can go all the way back to the beginning,
Yep.
wherever y'all want to go. Okay, strategic planning, just kind of an idea. You know the old, Mr. Tuning, you know the journalistic who, what, where, when. Okay, strategic planning does who, does what, when, and how, but you need to consider the why and the why not, and consider the how much. And as I said, these are going to be your priorities, top 5, top 8, top 4. Again, the number of 5 was just so my scoring system would work. And do you want to do those with or without some of the items that only 1 member listed? Okay, so one more slide. So I didn't want you to have to face a blank slide, so I started for you. The priorities of the town of Urbana are, and this is where you guys will come in.
Buy the building.
By the building.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning, not necessarily the cover slide. There you go. So do you have any questions at this point? And I'll take it slide by slide.
What's the status of negotiations?
That would be a question with the attorney. and I understand that there are
Not every
connection
work
issues between Andrea and Mr. Barr. So
Okay.
we are probably no further along than we were 2 months ago.
Okay.
Jesus.
Okay, so we're on the what?
Well,
Are we
do
a
y'all
little
have?
bit on the why?
Mhm.
But how about what can we do to accelerate this?
That's a good question.
I will tell you, I put on mine that if we need, I'm new, so.
It's okay,
But
Ricky.
if it's not gonna happen, we need to call it,
That's right.
because it seems to
That's
be going on
right.
a very long time.
That's
And
right.
I don't blame that on anybody sitting here.
I thought the whole point of Mr. Marr was to take Andrea out of the picture.
Yep.
There has to be a transfer, though,
Well, when are we transferring?
whenever the two of them can get together. They're having difficulties getting together. That's really all I can tell you. That's because really that's all I know.
Somebody needs to,
Create
mean-
some urgency.
if they can't get together, maybe I need to just take a road trip and carry some papers to Mr. Marr. Something. I mean, this is dragging on a lot, and Mr. Mullins has, been to us a lot. I mean, he's been to my house, a few times. So this is, very important. I mean, you're going to cut and run. Where are you going to go? You're not going to run anywhere. There's nowhere to go.
I don't know where to go.
Now you're getting into the how.
Exactly. So, I'm not understanding if we were gonna take Andrea out of the picture with Mr. Marr, why do they need to be together? What do they need to get together for?
Well, there's a history of what's happened in the
Yeah.
past
Okay.
that
I found this on the web for
that
Tech Andrea.
has to.
Is it a hit person?
Thank you, Siri.
Yeah.
Well,
She's gonna tell us how to do it.
we can AI this whole thing if
Yeah,
you want
really.
to.
I mean, I'm not trying to be,
No, I understand. I
know,
understand.
there's emails there, stuff, I mean, they can just pass a folder, a file, the contract, all of that to him. I'm not sure what their point of having to be in one another's presence.
I think it's reasonable to think that two professionals would get together and do the transfer, but we need to do something to create the
Exactly.
urgency, because this is
Well,
not okay.
This somehow needs to be made urgent, and urgent now.
Thoughts on what we can do to press on this?
I have shared, as this process was underway, I've shared with Andrea I could tell what was going to be the number one.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the communications back and forth, and it's just two lawyers trying to get their schedules together. What you need is a judge that says, you're going to meet on this
Yeah,
day at this
right.
time. Yeah.
Right.
Well, can we be the judge and tell them they need to,
You pretty much are. You're the
we need
client.
to get this together, and we need to get it done and get it done now, so that Mr. Marr can move on and deal with the obstinates that we're facing anyway.
Okay.
I sort of think it's on you, Ted, or the mayor, to try to
Well, we have to tell them, so,
Uh,
tell them that we need to do something soon,
yeah.
or what.
Yeah, there's
Well-
no or what to go to.
Yeah.
But I understand, I don't want to put it all on your back.
Well, no, I mean, I'm making the calls,
I'm sure you're doing that.
but
Just not happening.
it's just not happening.
And I'll reach out again.
Okay.
And
To
of
both
course,
of
we
them.
did just come
Yeah,
through the
to,
holiday.
not just to Andrea, but to Mr. Marr as well.
His mom. That's right.
Well, that's been in the mix, but,
That's right.
but the holidays, I'm sure that contributed
Yes.
to the
Yeah.
disconnects.
Yeah, we've had-
Well, yeah, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the whole deal, we get that,
That
but
time of year.
okay.
All right, so I'm kind of crafting down here for later. Your first priority would obviously express or create some urgency into the resolution of the purchase of the town hall.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Water line repair. Any questions on that one?
I have a question that's regarding that kind of, the fire hydrants, where are we at that with those?
With the pressure
Fire
test?
hydrants.
The pressure testing?
Yeah,
They've been pressure tested and they have passed,
Okay, good.
but are they optimal? No.
like after we see California and after what I
Yeah.
went through,
Yes.
Yeah, you're on the anniversary.
that's all, yeah, on the anniversary, that's.
I
been
think
on my
that's why
mind.
it's scored so high on the list, is because we know that we've got deficiencies. And some of those deficiencies, that's the reason we put the 10-inch line into the pool, so that you had access
Right,
to
you could
pool
use
water.
that, right, that's a good idea.
And that's tied in with funding, grants, trying to find the grants to do that kind of,
Yeah,
Right.
those two were very,
yeah.
very much interrelated.
Well, I'm on the water committee, and I've learned that I'm now the chairman,
Good for you.
because I wasn't there. So I did reach out to the Virginia Rural Water Authority today, so I'm waiting for a call back, because the contact person that we'd used in the past, Gary Gandy, has moved on to different parts of the thing. But Christine gave me this just a little bit ago, and this is the Virginia Rural Water Association. Then they're having a conference in Roanoke, and in here talks about how to get monies, grants and that kind of thing too. So I think
Yeah. and I think
everything go
everybody-
right for me. I would like to go to this and also take Maribel. Because this is some really good stuff that I think would help Maribel as well.
And I think everybody remembers, we did apply for another grant circumstance, actually asking for the whole ball of wax, and we got nothing. And we weren't even close. They funded, I think, the top 20, and we weren't in the top 50.
Right. Well, the Virginia Rural Water Authority, when they came and talked to us as a council, I mean, this has probably been 6 or 8 years ago at this point, they had a lot of options for us, just nobody decided to take it and to work with it. Gary Gandy came and talked to us for a long time, brought, stuff for us to look at and things like that. It just never was picked up on. Steve was the mayor at that point, and I don't remember exactly who was on council, but it wasn't a very active council, so.
We're paying towards a grant writer with the Middle Peninsula
That's
Regional
right.
Planning District Commission.
Right.
That would be an ideal thing for her to go after.
Right.
Maybe that's a person that we need to make sure goes to something like that.
Yes, that's right.
Because they would be poised to actually do the grant writing and listening for the technical requirements, because so far, we've not been successful
Yeah.
with grant funding. There's always been something, it's been our population, our income, our, this or that, we always get DQ'd. So, maybe that would be something to look into, is having that person
Yeah, I think
And-
go.
that's where we want to go initially, anyway. I mean, we've tried everything else,
Right.
pretty much,
And one of the things that we've done in the past, and we've slowly tried to correct it, is the out-of-town water rates are too much higher than the in-town rates, and they look at that as, if you have people that are paying the out-of-town rates, then there's a whole source of funding that you're not tapping, because all these, the majority of your people are paying in-town rates that are a little over half what the out-of-town rates are. And so you've got,
So where are we on
We
closing that
remedied
gap?
though, didn't we?
every other year we have raised last time it was like
Well,
8% or something.
last year, you closed the gap
Right.
on
Yep.
your in-town to get closer to your out-of-town. And I indicated then that was probably not even quite a halfway step. So
Okay.
there's another step
Yeah.
that
Oh,
needs to
so
be
we're
taken.
not there.
Another
Not there.
step will bring us
It's a grant.
And
Right.
more
to
in
where we
alignment.
need to be.
And we
We'll
need
be-
to go up
Like
another
one
10,
more?
15%. That's a water system discussion, but that's,
Yeah, I don't think
know,
it's that much.
that's something that people have to adjust to, so. it
But it's a
would be
little over what we did in this current budget.
Right.
And
But
we
the
would, you're
leverage
saying we
is
have an
there.
every other year method for doing that?
we've been doing it recently that way. but-
Okay.
But
Right.
we have some leverage with the problems we have with pipes. They gotta be fixed.
Yes.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
not by us, but it should be
Yeah.
fixed by us. I mean,
Right.
we're looking at a long-range thing. And,
So I guess a question, because we don't get to talk
Come on.
as a group. I get the feel that everybody's waiting for this pot of money to be dumped in our lap, right? We're gonna get a magic grant, we're gonna knock it out.
Right.
Is everybody against opening that from grant financing to just the word financing?
Yeah, just the,
aka
yeah, we just
debt?
need to maybe
Because-
get a loan
Right, I
and
mean, I just,
get it going.
1.5% rates, I saw at the VML conference, they were talking about right now for 40-year unit.
Yep.
You know,
And that's what's funding the well.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Right.
and we've
Right.
been through that process, and that is also on the table. We're sort of digesting, getting that in place.
like we figure up as a project what we need to do, how are we gonna pay for it, and try to get a grant writer and get as much free money as we can, but we gotta do something, because it seems like sitting around waiting on grants to show up, the pipes are just aging, and I think we're gonna, as soon as this warms up, I was talking to Steve earlier today, things are gonna start breaking.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just gonna, we just
It-
can't
it
keep
happens
kicking the
every year.
can down the road. It's
Right.
just n-
Yeah, it's very seasonal. Any water system I've ever been around, you have, when you're moving from fall into the winter and you're coming out of winter into spring, because you have leaks at the beginning and you have leaks at the end of it.
And then, I was here this week, and I made the comment, and then I jinxed everybody, but I was like, what about Richmond, right? Richmond, that was a huge mess.
Oh, yeah.
I was supposed to be working, they had to delay joint sessions starting because of it, the airport, they had porta potties out, it was just
Oh,
terrible.
was a
That was
mess.
in Henrico County, right?
Right.
But I asked, what's our single point of failures here, and then I guess we had a pump failure because I said something. But, my point being is that if the water stops flowing here in town, they're gonna run us all out on a rail, so.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta spend the money. It's one of those things no one notices till it doesn't work, and then,
Yep,
Right.
you're right.
Don't feel bad, Mr. Wilson. When I was at VDM, I said, one thing we need is an earthquake plan,
we had
and then we had the earthquake. Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Robbie. We do need to, just stop wishing for it to happen and make it happen with
Yeah.
doing a loan.
However, we
Yeah.
can figure it out.
And that's where going to that conference is gonna.
Right. Yeah,
Useful.
this will be very useful.
So grant revenue could perhaps be broadened into just financing revenue.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
But when I saw that, sorry, I'm talking to you, but I almost think that is on a per project basis, right?
Yes.
For the water system, that's one set of grants, the pool.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from. We don't wanna have to raise taxes. I don't wanna pay more taxes.
I think it's inevitable.
But
Well,
to
and those are
pay
fees
for
on
the
the
loan,
water.
to pay for the loan, that's where increasing the in-town rates and closing that gap, it makes you,
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff, like I said, in times that we've applied for different things before, some organizations wouldn't even talk to us because we were so far out of whack. It's like, if you've got assets that you can leverage, going to a bank and asking for an unleveraged loan, it's like, well, no, we're gonna put this
Yeah.
on the docket.
Right.
And-
You've got access to money, use it.
And there are
Exactly.
ways to reach into different pots if the guidelines will allow you to do that. You can loan this much, take a grant on this much. Remember, that's usually a match of some
Right.
level. So you got a match and a loan payment. But there are different pots you can reach into to make a project.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor. I look at them separately, water and taxes. Because water's supposed to pay for itself. It's
Correct.
supposed to pay for what
Yes.
it does. It's not, I don't think we've ever raised tax, well, I don't know, but what we did in the past, but since I've been on council, we've never raised real
Correct. The
estate.
water system is its own entity
Yeah.
that has its own in and out. And
Its own accounting.
And it has been a topic of discussion where at one point we talked about if the gap needs to be closed, maybe we should just, move the in-town rates to out-of-town rates. And we thought that would cause such heartburn
Yeah.
that nobody nobody wanted to talk about it.
Well, for one thing, that's one of the things when, you know, people get unhappy with whatever it is that isn't being done, that's important to them. And they'll say, what do we get? We pay
Right.
town taxes,
Yeah.
and what do we get that everybody else doesn't get? And of course, water and the rates that we have is one of the first things
Right.
that we always
Right.
point to. So if we close the gap that way, you can't even point to that anymore.
Correct.
We-
It's not easy to raise anything, but it's easier to raise water than it is real estate.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And
That's true.
that's why
If you want water.
well, we've raised them because we've been so out of whack.
Well, right,
Right.
and it had been from back when Bill Smith was here, when he looked at the records, we went 11 years without changing the rates,
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
which is crazy. And HRSD changes their rates on an annual
Yeah,
basis.
annually.
Yeah.
And that was always if you look back at old minutes, that was one of the complaints was, well, you know, we're getting blamed for the HRSD increase because they get it in one bill, and so we can't raise our rates because we have
Right.
you know, take the heat for what they've already done.
Right.
Right.
Well,
And
I
that has
went,
changed recently, but it's been recent.
right. I went on this Virginia Chronicle. Somebody had posted something from one of the Airbnbs about how old their property was. But anyway, I ended up on there, and people have been councils have been talking about this water system since 1977, and nothing has ever gotten accomplished. Nothing.
What
I've read-
water system?
Our water system,
Oh,
our
Virginia
pipes in everybody's road, and I mean, you read this. I mean, I read it for days. From 1977, that things aren't getting done, and each council has said, you know, we need to do
That's
this.
exactly fair. I don't think that we have done things, but
You've gotta-
have
We haven't
done-
replaced the pipes.
We haven't replaced the.
That's what I'm talking about. Is the
That-
pipes?
yes.
Did we do Marston?
Yeah, we've done
We've
some.
done some streets, yeah.
We've done some.
And we just added some new pipes up on the hill. didn't we?
We did an extension up there, or
Yeah.
enlarged the line going up
And
there because of
didn't
a
we do
pressure
some
issue. And you've done the wells.
Right.
Watling, we did
We,
Watling.
we did the well, and
Right.
we did the asset management plan, and which identified the infrastructure needs and the mapping of the system, and a unilateral flushing plan so that we would be able to get the grit out from well 3, and the new well and yeah.
So what of that? Say Bristow's catches fire. What of that keeps town from burning down?
None of that keeps it from burning down.
No.
The only thing that would come close to keeping it down is the fact that you've got access to a rapid flow from the pool would augment that.
God
But,
forbid.
Yes, so that's what I'm
Fire
saying. We've got to
hydrant.
get these pipes all uniform and done, so. And make sure that the hydrants are flushed and
Yeah.
flowing, you know, every 6 months.
The hydrants have been flushed, they have been tested. And, because I remember we didn't get noticed on that. And so
Right.
Steve went out because everybody thought that there was a major leak on, I think, Prince
Yeah.
George Street. That was the test.
Uh-huh.
That was the test.
But how often are they going to do that?
That was done for the ISO rating, which I think is every 2 years.
Okay, so didn't Miss Caskey say that she would flush those? She's a firefighter.
Susan.
I haven't had that conversation with her.
I don't know about that. And something else that has occurred over the last couple of years is we now have a new fire chief,
Yeah.
and the old fire chief refused to do any
Right,
of that.
yes, he did.
That's true.
He was adamant that they weren't going to get involved
Right.
with any of that stuff, even though they use the equipment and need it
Yep.
when push comes to shove. They
Right.
didn't want anything to do with.
Didn't we buy it the thing they needed for the fire truck?
We have a flow meter.
Yes.
In Steve's office.
Okay,
Yes, we have a flow meter so that we can
One of the
test the
things we
flow.
talked about.
Brendan helped us
right.
pick that one out when he was still around.
And this time of year is when fires happen because it's so
That's right.
cold.
People using space
It
heaters
was
and
6
stuff.
It was
8 degrees.
well, when my fire happened, it was 6 degrees.
It was 8 this morning, yeah.
So today is the first time it's been that low, and that's when fires happen.
Right.
really, because people are
Crank.
pushing the heaters
And for some of the old houses, the wiring is auxiliary heat.
and then if it's too cold, the water is not really effective on
Yeah,
the fire.
that's right.
So,
Yeah,
but those are
take
things we need to think
Briska's and
about.
my house, and the Donoff's house, I mean, if they caught fire,
UV
it doesn't matter
history.
what you got.
No, it's gone.
It's,
You just get out.
you know, those houses are 150 years old, made out of wood.
Yeah.
Mine went in an hour.
Mine too.
But that's
In
not,
an
that's
hour.
not an excuse.
No, no.
No.
But
But
they
I'm just
probably don't
saying.
have fire breaks in the wall or.
No.
So let's, you want to jump to the end slide, just for a moment?
Sorry.
No. Jump all the way to the end, where we get to
So
to
the-
write some of this down.
The consensus that I'm getting is water lines are the number two, are parallel.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Carol,
I
I
would
agree.
say that.
All right, so priority number one, can you type this in? And this is just, you all can, what I like to call TED-iting. You can TED it later. Express urgency in the purchase of 390
Yep.
Virginia Street. With attorney hearing from, or attorney with attorneys hearing from mayor and town administrator by end of next week, whatever date that is, in receiving a timeline response.
I think that's the 30th. It's the 30th.
So
Oh, no, 31st.
we've got the what,
First.
the who, the when, the where, roughly.
Ted,
Mhm.
I don't think that's the priority.
Okay,
I think the priority is closing on the sale of, or the purchase of Virginia Street or walking to an alternative. This is a step toward that priority.
okay.
Yeah, I agree. The priority is
Yeah.
closing on the
Right.
hall. And
Go
Or
back-
walking
first
to
step
an
is-
alternative.
Go back,
First
go back
step,
to the word
Yes.
express.
first step is,
Start right there and
She's got
go with what Ms. Hanson just said. Yeah, there you go. Closing on the purchase
390.
of 390.
Yeah. Or moving to an alternative. I think it's one or the other. We're not sure we're gonna get this done, but we need a, yeah,
something.
we need a plan, so it's one or the other.
Yep.
all right?
Yep.
All right. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Nope.
I go to priority two.
Priority two is infrastructure, water system infrastructure upgrades.
Right?
Yeah. And I'll just throw a bunch of stuff out here. This is a, water infrastructure upgrades. I guess one of the steps would be engage in organizations or engage with organizations that get us exposure and insight into funding.
Yep. Loans and grants.
I guess a sub-point of that could be utilize the MPPDC staff.
Although they're going through some pains right now, so their hair is on fire over there because they've had a long-term, an employee be on long-term leave at this point.
That's
That was something that was
related to the
discussed.
grant situation?
No, but they have all these irons in the fire that they need to administer. And at this point, the head for a good portion of it is out for an indefinite period of time.
Just, maybe I'm wrong, tell me what you think. I'd just say this is like something you send to the order committee, right? What do we want to do?
Right.
And how are we gonna pay for it and maybe have an A and a B and a C option? Maybe we can't do all we wanna do at once.
And
I think we need a plan.
But
I
what
think
I
we
don't-
need to come up with a
I
plan
And-
for stages of getting it done.
And actually, one of the things that was in the stuff that we did with AH Environmental was when they mapped the system, they gave us, what was it, I think, 5 stages.
Yes.
With, what they thought was priority 1, which was Virginia Street, and then I think the area over where Mr. Fodry lives, that's on a small line, was a second priority to get higher flow rates into that corner. But anyhow, there were 5 distinct things that they had in terms of priority lists, and the total guesstimate of what that was gonna cost the town was $7.1 million,
Yeah.
and that was in 2019.
Right.
So,
Have we made progress on any of those priorities, or do those still all remain
those
undone?
all, they still remain all done.
Okay, so the priorities are established for us, so it's coming up with a
Exactly.
plan
Figure how
to
to
address them.
But
Exactly.
we're all sitting here saying that we're
So-
open to it as a council, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
Yeah.
So that's progress.
Christine, if you would plug in,
yes, it is. It is.
utilize existing information.
Yeah.
Where is that,
Sorry.
That's why all
I'll
of
stop
my
talking.
points were
No, you're
keep
good.
getting along to get.
where is that existing, priority list? Where is that? Of the road, you said Virginia Street?
That's in the asset plan, I believe. I think that's in
Yeah.
the asset plan.
It's an asset management plan, yep.
Okay, and where's that?
That's in the, what is the name of the system that we purchased?
The
the
cartograph.
system?
The
cartograph.
The cartograph?
Cartograph.
Cartograph.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. They were telling me about it the other day. I mean, that's, a lot of work has been done. Don't feel like I come in here ungrateful.
No.
I just,
Bill Smith
Oh,
just
no,
did a
no,
lot.
no, they did,
I like
they did a
action.
tremendous amount.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot been
a
done.
lot's been done.
But there's a lot more that needs to be done.
So let me ask you a question, because I wasn't here for all the grants that went up and came down. To Beth's point, Miss Justice's point, what, did y'all argue the safety factor?
With who?
With the grant applications? Did you all say?
Probably not,
I would,
probably not.
yeah, that would
Public,
be a-
public safety go, of course,
Yeah,
you're
that
talking to
would-
me,
that
but
would be a-
public safety goes a long way. If you can make a public safety argument,
Absolutely.
that will, that checks a few more boxes on the review
And I'm
sheet.
not sure, that would be a Roy question, because I think
Okay.
who was it that shepherded that through? Was it Scott Funk that helped with that?
Probably so, yeah, probably so.
I don't recall
But
that name.
that would be
but-
something I'd like to get into this water system infrastructure upgrades is a public safety fire suppression.
Right.
We're talking
Right.
fire suppression.
Okay,
I'd like to try to get that in there someplace.
okay.
Roy,
It seems to me that that's what the county,
Not so much a plan, but an aspect.
so Roy can come to was Roy invited to the water meeting?
he was there.
Oh, he was there? So he,
Yeah,
'cause
he's still on the committee.
oh, he is, okay. So he'll be at the next one then.
Roy has been kind enough to stay on with both
Right.
finance and,
Yeah.
and water, to give us that, institutional continuity.
Right.
Yep.
All right, so from the notes I took while you all were speaking, I think we've touched on everything
Yes.
on that one. Okay, let's go back to the first.
So let me ask one question while we're
Hold
still on
don't-
this.
Don't move.
The list of priorities for the water lines, is that just like a list that can be printed off a cartograph and,
Probably so, yeah.
and?
I think there's a separate, each environmental came up with a separate asset management plan that is probably within Cartograph, but it is a separate book that's sitting around here someplace.
It's on the shelf outside my office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is
'Cause
it
we
something
actually
that
u-
can be printed off so I can have it, or is it too big to do that, or?
It's yay
Oh,
thick,
yeah.
yeah.
So
But,
there's not just a list, a page?
well, I
of
mean, there's a
ro-
page
of
in the book, but you
streets?
got to go through
Gotcha.
the book.
Okay.
There might be a way to spreadsheet that down. We sent the entire packet, the entire whole asset management plan to the health department when we had to respond to the lead pipe survey.
Right.
And it was like, this is what we know. And again, that was just on our system. It did nothing beyond the meter. into the houses.
And when we applied for that grant, we also paid Kimley Horn to do I think the phase one engineering for the first phase, I think, as part of the grant,
Right.
so that we showed determination to do it,
Right.
hoping to get reimbursed. And I don't think we did.
I don't think
No.
we did get reimbursed.
But we moved along the course of, if we actually
Right.
get some money, then we
didn't.
have something we can present to somebody to do the work. And then we were turned down.
But we still have that.
But we still
Right.
need to go, like Ted said, with an urgency for public safety
I
or,
think we need to find out if that was included in the
Yeah.
applications that we made.
Right.
It seems like it would have been,
But
but.
even if
maybe
it
not.
wasn't, it's still an argument you can make.
yeah.
Yes.
It's still an
Yes.
argument you can
And,
make.
and those are dead, so it's something to
Yeah.
make sure we put in the next
Next
one.
time.
That's the
Right.
most important.
Exactly.
point.
Absolutely, that
You know,
should be
going
first,
forward,
first and
it's something that we
foremost.
have to
Do
say
it
it.
again
And-
right.
Yeah.
And that being said, the people that get chosen in front of us, I gotta believe that they're making the same argument, because if they don't have water with adequate pressure and access,
Right.
that they're hurting just like we are.
Right.
I mean, we're not
Except for
alone in
maybe
this.
larger.
No, oh no.
No,
I mean,
we're
this
not.
is,
Well, look at Richmond.
look at Richmond,
Mess.
No,
you know, all the towns that I've ever been involved with, I can tell you they've all got water issues, because it's like, well, once it's in the ground, we can forget about it, but you can't. You
No.
know, you can't. All right, you want to go back to the, there we go. So I think maybe we kind of covered water line repair and grant revenue
Yeah.
at the
Yes.
same time?
Yes.
All right. So the next number that popped up was your, the pool. And I know we talked at the last meeting about, that Mayor and I haven't met with Signature, and we were supposed to do a meeting today with the swim team, but because of the power and cold, we're pushing that back to next week. I've briefly talked to Dave Lipscomb about the possibility, this was one of the ideas that we had coming out of the Signature Pool meeting, was seeing if, kind of like they do at Little League ball fields, seeing if we could get businesses that would sponsor so much
Right.
money,
right.
and I'm just throwing out a number, $1,000. $1,000, but they get to hang a banner
Right.
that
On the
people see,
fence.
during the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably hang it along what I'm going to call the race start wall, and then the backside, not keep that line open on the playground, but try to get some banners in there. And then when the swim teams are hosting events, they've got families coming in from out of town. Oh, well, there's a restaurant to go
Right.
eat at, or there's a boutique that we can go shopping after.
Well,
afterwards.
just from experience, don't go in as so gung ho at $1,000, because the most you're going to get is about $250.
I just threw out a
Well,
number.
that's where.
Do we not know that, Beth?
I just threw out
That's
a
where you
number.
and Beth that have experience in getting that.
So, so we're looking at ways to try to alter the pool operations. I think we discussed last meeting, starting later in the afternoon, but going later
Later in
into
the
the
evening.
night, so that people can get off work and enjoy the pool,
Yeah.
and they'd be more inclined to buy a membership, because they can get 2 hours a night as opposed to 15 minutes.
Right.
Yep.
So we're looking at expanding the hours, or moving the hours.
Moving the hours.
Moving the hours. There were some other things that we talked about. I've got the file back in the office.
These are all revenue generation.
Revenue generation.
Ideas. What about expense reduction? I don't know, I mean, is that not even possible? Maybe that's not even possible.
I wouldn't think so. not-
Trying to recruit, I mean, the biggest problem is and I'm just using Signature because that's who we went with last year.
Right.
And we did
And
interview,
we
an-
talked about that. a
yeah,
little.
and we interviewed another company. They could do the lifeguards, but they couldn't do the pool management, the chemical
Yeah.
testing and everything.
And with
you-
Signature, we got it both.
Yeah, with Signature, you got both, and because they service a lot of the other pools around here, they can move people around pretty quick if somebody calls in sick. We discussed, putting out another series of advertisement for lifeguards. And
Last year, we
Yeah,
got
we
one person applying for manager who didn't really want the job, and
Did-
four people
well,
that made
They,
inquiries.
they didn't understand
Asking
the
them
requirements
that.
of the job,
Oh,
yeah.
Not when she
yeah.
saw what it was gonna entail.
Yeah.
Well, if
And-
Signature thinks that maybe they're not gonna get the work next year, I mean, if we can't afford them, we can't afford them, we have to do something else.
Right.
I mean, do they understand that this is a real issue? That-
They recognize it's a real issue for a startup year, that these are the lessons we learned from the startup
Oh,
year.
okay.
But they didn't necessarily rule out, oh, no, don't advertise for lifeguards, we'll do that. But I'm trying, they were basically, and they even talked about, they got a flow for, of course, if we shift hours, that flow is going to change
Right.
in terms of how many people came in on certain days at certain times. And they said, yeah, we could probably back it down to 2 lifeguards a lot of times rather than having 3.
Is that what major cost is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Personnel.
Labor, personnel.
Cause you're making,
Labor.
what, $20 an hour?
Yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
it was always a good gig, you know?
I mean,
Well,
I
when
did
I
in
was,
high
it was like
school.
$6. So long ago.
And-
Maybe we
and
could
there has
recruit
been
from the
interest
audience.
in- the hope would be that in the startup years, you're gonna have expenses that maybe it can start to generate like it did in the past, where swim teams will be there, because there was a pretty good turnout for the swim team.
Oh, yeah,
And-
huge.
And if they can generate a source of guards, then you may be able to get somebody that's willing to manage it and move up, but right now, that's not happening.
You still have, though, one of the things that I would hate to see us get into is thinking that we could simply do that and it would cost us less, because it is labor intensive to manage all of that, and somebody has to do it.
Right.
And we're already so short on bandwidth for
exactly, that's-
anybody to be able to do
Right.
anything that, I think we're almost stuck having to use somebody like Signature
Well,
because of that.
and-
It-
Well, we
it-
could use Larry and Christie. They could be they could be the
Yeah.
lifeguards.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
$20 an hour, Larry.
Miss Justice, you used to
You
lifeguard.
guys are in trouble.
I used to be lifeguard. But we talked about this before, so this
Can't
is
swim
probably
myself.
redundant. We used to rent it out for parties.
Oh, yeah.
When I worked
Oh,
there
yeah.
a million years ago,
And-
we
and-
would rent it out for birthday parties, and it was popular.
Right.
People wanted to have a
and-
pool
and
party.
And for parties, then, the guard cost would be a pass-through.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So, so.
Oh, yeah.
It is part of the expense.
For renting it for the party.
It's something else that's different from the last time we had the pool running is you're now technically under Virginia Department of Health scrutiny, where we were not under Department of Health scrutiny before, and so having somebody else keep the records for you and be on the hook for
Oh,
that
yeah.
liability
It's another
is
plus.
Right.
something that we didn't have to worry about before, and we dodged that bullet. But that's one of the things you get with Signature, is that they're signing off on having all the forms and water quality and those
Yeah, it's
kinds
all
of
there.
things, which
Well-
doesn't mean we couldn't do it. But as Mary
It's-
pointed out, if you take that in-house, then you've got to have the staff in-house
Right.
to do that. And that means we're going to have those people in-house that are
Yeah,
You know,
it sounds
full-time
like
in the summer.
Signature's where we stay. It's just it. I mean, there's
It's
no,
short-term.
It is, I think.
at least for a couple more years till maybe we can get,
Teenagers that want to work.
right.
And then we should probably be putting how many of those signs do we have left? Start putting those up for, advertising memberships, get them up earlier this year.
Oh.
And just get them up yesterday.
Do we offer?
And I'll be happy to put them out. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, go put it up in the snow.
Do we offer life-saving and class courses and WSI courses?
So the only thing that we were able to do with the Y last year was the exercise program.
Okay.
And we've already talked to them about coming back and doing more.
More, yeah.
Their problem is they are limited by the instructors. They only have so many instructors. And
Because
so.
that's how we could maybe find lifeguards here down the road, is to offer
Yeah, yeah.
courses for them to get it. They might not be doing it because they don't have the course around here. to
And I'm not sure,
take.
is the pool deep enough? Because I know that there's some diving pieces
That's
to
true.
that.
I didn't think about that.
I don't think that the pool might not be deep enough.
It
Oh.
maybe that they'd have to
Oh,
take it
that's
to
true.
Kilmarnock.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, so then it wouldn't be worth us
Yeah.
offering it.
You looked into the history of the minutes of how it was paid for in the past. Because I have a feeling Tabor money was used to keep that thing going.
Yeah.
Well, I asked that question the other day.
Yeah.
Well, how much is this pool costing us over the operation of the previous
Yeah.
pool? I realized that before things were just sort of, as he said, we're under the Department of Health now, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it
We've
was
always operated a pool.
It was always budgeted for like $30,000.
Yep.
And when we were building this one, I looked around and I can tell you that Essex County, for example, when we were first looking into putting this thing in, they were budgeting for $80,000, $78,000.
because I was just,
Okay.
I was asking the question simply out of ignorance, but I'm expecting that the money that was used to operate the old pool disappeared into something else while we didn't have a pool. Now we're suddenly having to fund a pool.
So the question is, what money was
Well,
used to
Yeah,
fund
what
the
paid
pool
for it before, how, what's the
What line
delta to
item?
this new pool? And I understand where the delta's coming from, but I kinda wondered where the plan
Where
was
the
when we
money
built the
went.
pool.
Well,
Where'd the
there was
money
a lot
go?
of money that went
But what was the
into-
plan to
into the
run the thing when we
rebuilding.
built it?
There was a lot for the rebuilding and for various studies that had to be done for, there were all kinds of studies that had to be done, geological studies and engineering studies and this and that.
Yeah, but I
so-
mean, just as far as running it, I think it's one of the most
I
wonderful
think
things this
that's what
town
we
has
were
done.
doing.
Having that swim team back this year was just great. We gotta
Absolutely.
pay for it.
Yeah.
And
We can't shut it
to
down.
answer
We
your
need
question,
some big
it,
funders.
I think in the old budgets, it was $30,000 that we had budgeted for the pool on an annual basis. And there was no membership charged. And the hope was that if we had memberships at a certain level and the $30,000 buffered, and the mindset that I always thought was appropriate to portray to people was that what we're getting is access to a pool that's gonna be buffered by taxes, but you are in a community where you can walk or ride a bike or golf cart to this pool as this community asset, and that's what the underpinnings are, but that to use the pool, you're gonna have to pay to use the pool to keep it going.
Yeah.
And it was gonna require community participation to keep the thing afloat. And, you know, the question is a good one, where did it go? And I can tell you that the finances of this town, to use something that I got from somebody in, historically, was the town is basically with expenses, we're on a down elevator walking up, so that because of increases in everything, our revenue to the town hasn't increased appreciably over the years, and the expenses have gone up astronomically.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, that's true to some degree, but we had when we got into the lawsuit, that's when revenues went up. They jacked taxes up 5, 6,
Right.
6 cents
Oh.
because they thought it was gonna be a lawsuit. And then it turned out we didn't have a lawsuit. And I know that's how we paid the 80,000
Right.
to go into the old pool, which we've been criticized greatly for it, but we got 5 years out of it.
Right.
So it hadn't been a downward, every year it hadn't been down. I mean,
Well, we've run surpluses, but just in terms of, staffing expense, the expense for,
Well, that's
any
gone up.
kind of chemicals or, all kinds of things, those numbers have all gone up. I mean, you feel it in your personal.
You're talking about the pool itself.
But that's where the money went for the pool, is the pool didn't exist and we used it for other things.
Exactly.
But if you look back, like 3 budgets ago, I think the real estate taxes were $276,000.
Which we declined in real estate because we lowered them,
Right,
and then the figures that came in at the time were incorrect. So we ended up, we're currently making less money in real estate taxes than we did 3 years ago.
Yes.
correct. Okay.
What happened is that when the county sent, this has happened twice. It happened the last time they reassessed it. What happened is when the county sent us the figures, we took those figures to be what they were. Well,
Right.
that included all the nonprofit property in our mouth.
Right.
That's non-taxable. And so we based it on that. And
Right.
I consider it my fault because I know we did it one time before and then we did it again. And I think I was the only one on council that probably remembered it, and I didn't catch it.
So,
And I'm
But,
sorry.
but the bottom line is, that's what, $26,000 difference on an annual basis that's not here, that was here before.
Well, a
Yep.
penny's
Expenses going up.
12.5, right?
I'm sorry.
Welcome to the
A penny
finance
is
committee.
12,500.
I figured that out.
A penny is 12,500?
Yeah.
Revenue, like, basically.
Revenue.
Gotcha.
So, may I say something?
Yeah.
Please.
One of the other struggles with the annual membership, Robbie being new, but not this past year, but I've put together reports in the past to show you in-town, full-time residents, I'm sorry, and how many residents have out-of-town mailing addresses, hence second home. And the last time I did that report, we were 51-49. 51% being full-time residents of Urbana. And from what I've been seeing recently, I think the tables have flipped.
Oh,
So you're going to have a harder time in some of these areas because the folks just aren't here. And the folks, if they're not here, if we're more of a second home community, they're also not using the volume of water. So it's
Right.
a trickle effect. They're not shopping,
Making the
they're
money.
not eating in the restaurants.
Right.
We're getting the taxes because the tax rate is the tax rate, but we are losing the personal property side because their vehicles are registered in
in other
else.
places, yeah.
somewhere else. So that revenue we're not receiving, even though it's not a lot, but it's still revenue.
And for the pool use, they're probably coming in as day users rather than getting a membership.
Yes.
Correct. So while you're discussing all these things, there's a lot of other factors that play into everything we're trying to do.
yeah, so essentially, I think the concept there is things change. And we can go back and look at how the pool was financed 15 years ago, but you didn't have to pay the minimum wage that you have to pay today.
Right, it's not
Right.
different.
So that goes back to your personnel cost,
Right.
which, and then if we were to hire I think this is a low ball number, the 10 lifeguards and run it out of here, that's 10 more paychecks, 10
Yeah.
more W-2s, 10 more everything,
Right, you don't have to worry
that you have to
about
run.
that
Yeah.
probably every week.
All right, so you want to go to the back page and,
I think if we did a mailing too, close to the beginning of spring to everyone that, I know of two homes that have just sold that could attach a membership to,
Right.
so that if they ever sold their house, they would have it so that people know that.
And in the mailing, make the plea.
Right.
Keep this pool
Yeah, help
alive.
us keep it up.
Oh, we have a big fat party making a fundraiser.
look,
And when I talk to people, I say,
rock
you know,
band.
even if you never use
any
it,
band.
help the town and buy a membership because,
Right,
it keeps an asset in town that's good for everybody.
right. What is that called where you can attach it to your house, the membership?
Oh, charter membership.
Charter membership, yeah. I'm not sure how many people really are aware of that either, so maybe a mailing,
Charter membership?
It's 10,000.
12,000 bucks.
12,000.
Oh, 12.
all right, so,
Good in that.
and I want to say this again. I'm taking these in the priority that you all ranked them. And collectively, if you don't want to have the pool as number 3, you want to make it you can move those around. Okay, I'm just working down the list as they score it out.
Yeah, I don't think
So,
it should be great.
priority number 3, as to the pool, obviously, your priority is to increase revenues.
Right.
Yeah.
So, explore, increase pool revenues. And then sub-point, explore, and I'm just going to kind of run these down. Ways to increase membership.
Utilization by
Outside groups.
Yeah, renting out. That's what I was trying to find it here in my notes. Renting out.
Sponsorships was part of what we
Sponsorships,
talked
yeah,
about.
sponsorships.
Signage and sponsors.
Yeah, sponsorship, signage.
I like the rock band thing.
I do too. I think
I
we
mean,
should.
I don't see why we
should have a
couldn't do
kickoff.
an annual, well, I don't see why we couldn't do a big annual fundraiser,
Yeah.
have music,
Yeah.
and have people, they would pay to get in.
We could do that in September, Beth, in conjunction, move second Saturday through and just make it a big thing with with our 2 food trucks
And
and our music.
Justice is playing.
Yeah,
in
there you go.
September.
Put on their Tabor Fund.
But yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and I was laughing with Mary a minute ago, but we need a pool booster club. You know how some places have a booster
Yeah,
club?
sure. Like the athletic boosters.
Right, it's too bad we don't have some parents of kids that use
Well,
the
Beth,
pool.
you could do that. You could be the chairman.
Yeah, well,
That's how I got a
I'd like to
chairman
see the
job.
snack booth come back.
Yeah, the snack booth,
Snack
Well,
yes.
that was a big item for the conversation with the swim team.
I thought that was being done. Didn't this,
They never got it together.
oh, they didn't, okay.
And that was another thing that,
We did the electrical upgrade that was necessary, and they couldn't.
They just couldn't get it through with
Yeah.
chips and
Well,
sodas and,
Yeah, they had a hard time too, because you gotta remember, they had a hard time with the, being a new team. They're gonna focus on the team, getting the team up and running. But then they also lost 2 meet experiences because of the heat.
right.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow, what a weather year.
You think we've gotten
Yes.
that one pretty
Yeah.
good?
yeah, I
Yes.
think we have.
So,
All right. Okay, let's roll back to the first slide. Signage naming Payne Landing, Virginia Street Terminus. Okay. So, here's the latest. I was called in because the condos next door are having some issues with erosion and failure on their bulkheads.
Right.
Okay. And what they're looking at doing is raising and extending the bulkhead and wrapping around to, along the property line, which may only shift the project, the problem down to the end of Terminus Street, to the terminus of Virginia Street. Okay. So,
So it's going to create a problem for the town property.
it
Yeah.
would, yeah. Unless we do something in concert with them,
Right.
which is the bulkheaded. That would be, but everybody said, well, but we want the waterfront access. We want the waterfront access.
Right.
You
So-
can still access with a bulkhead, though?
Yeah, but this is where we are with this one. Trying to get docks of the bay to get out there. The weather's just been too cold. Nobody wants to go out. Docks of the bay to look at that. Look at the handicap ramp on the dinghy dock. Just trying to get them out there to just, okay, let's do a massive walkthrough on all these projects. Now, I did go out with VDOT on this project, and they have determined that even though the drop inlets are labeled VDOT, it's not VDOT's drainage system.
Yes, they've always held that.
Okay,
view.
all right. So, I'm
Right.
going to suggest some sanding down to get the VDOT thing off of there. But that outlet is basically backed up. So that's been one of the considerations, and I need to circle back to the folks at the condo, say, look, if this thing gets opened up, whether you do it, VDOT say it's not their system, but if you open this thing up, just as much water can come in through
Yep.
the open pipe. Right now, those pipes are probably 3/4 of the way. And the pipes I'm talking about are, when you go right down to the edge of the water, if you look over, there's a couple of concrete
Yep.
pipes. And every time I'm there, they're always in the water. But that's what's, I think that's supposed to be the outfall, and they're not outfalling. So that's causing water to back up.
and if we join in with the condos on something, we need to include the Montagues, because otherwise it shifts everything over to him.
That was the
Well,
next thought.
And
Yep.
they have a living
I'm okay
shoreline instead of bulkhead,
Right.
adjacent to that. And why are they doing a hard bulkhead as opposed to a living shoreline along there?
Because of the boat anchorage there, I'm not sure.
They got depth.
Yeah, they've got a lot of depth there.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't lend itself very well.
Is that it?
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know, but I.
Yeah, there's got to be depth there with the
Because
boats that go there.
it's gonna be a serial effect.
Mm-hmm.
If, you know, if they bulkhead, then it shifts it to us. If we bulkhead, it shifts it, and it, yeah.
Keeps going.
So it's a bigger neighbor problem that I think somehow needs to be dealt with as a neighbor
Yes.
problem.
Okay.
So on that one, what I would
So
recommend,
those pipes, I'm sorry, Ted, those pipes, are they our pipes? Or are they the condos pipes? Are they the Montague's pipes? Are they?
VDOT's pipes?
VDOT says they're not theirs.
Stormwater management zone.
Yeah. VDOT has said the inlets that are on the condo property are not VDOT's, even though they're marked VDOT in drop inlets. And we have no idea where it flows to. If you stand at one and you look at the other one, it makes sense that there's a Y and it goes down to the water, but nobody knows. But that would be something that would have to be part of the engineering to say, okay,
Yeah.
are we going to make it a living shoreline? Are we going to, and perhaps even rip out those pipes, you know, to a certain degree? Or are we just going to let it be as it is and bulkhead it, or?
Well, Docs of the Bay can answer that for us, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far as the signage naming the Virginia Street terminus use, you know, the sense I get, there's no argument. You all want to name it Payne Landing.
Right.
Okay, so that we can say done. But what are we going to name? I mean, are we going to name something that gets flooded and washed out, or are we going to name a little park?
Right.
Okay. So I think the emphasis is really on the second part. What do we do with Virginia
Terminus.
Street terminus
Right.
use? Yeah. So you want to go to back to the page and just basically say the priority item would be resolve physical condition of Virginia Street terminus. And then one of the subpoints would be work with contractors.
You have any idea what kind of money you're talking? Because, which you're not sure what you're gonna end up doing yet, right? I will say at the VML conference, there was an environmental group out of Baltimore that came and spoke. And I guess they specialized in finding grants and funding for communities to deal with wastewater that in the state, it's in the bay. It's a bay thing. I've got their information. I'm sure that would take a while, but they basically would come out, look at our community, help us find money to do that kind of stuff.
So
Isn't that covered by the big grant?
the big grant is only for the shoreline restoration we're doing right now. This would all be new work.
And the big grants for transient boating.
Right.
So you could probably get them to fund
Contract.
floating docks at the marina, but they're not gonna do things that benefit the town.
Right.
I
That
see.
What they put together is stuff that makes
Okay.
it more attractive for people to get here.
And
Right.
you have to
So
keep
they-
X number of slips available for transients.
Right.
Okay, yeah, so-
So they would
So
help
even
us
though that's
do-
part of our waterfront, they wouldn't
No.
work with that, okay.
No, and so, like the kayak launch, they wouldn't pay for a kayak launch. They probably would pay for handicap access to the dinghy dock because that helps
Right.
people getting off of boats.
Right,
Okay?
Right.
And so it
okay.
Let's make that work with contractor to determine options,
Yeah.
Yes.
in
which a
concert
subpoint.
with neighbors.
Well, that's what I was going to say. A
Yeah.
subpoint could be
Yeah.
work with neighbors.
Uh-huh.
Because
Do you-
like you said, if you do the fix
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're just
Yeah.
pushing it down
Right.
Right.
further down.
So are the condos talking about a wooden,
I don't know.
or, because the way you said curve it sounded like concrete to me.
I don't.
They're talking about, you know, again, a hard
Structure.
structure. I don't know what material, but they're talking about hard.
Yeah, it would have to be something, yeah, it
structure
sounds,
shoreline.
And I don't know if they're looking about going out and backfilling or pulling back and dropping
Dropping
something
in,
in
yeah.
and then pulling out the other stuff. I have no idea.
okay.
But I've seen it. It is shrinking. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
settling in, and
And-
they want to not only shore that up, but then raise it and bring it all the way down, and where it curves a little bit, it would be higher and curved back further. So,
And somebody in this room has said to me more than once, when one person gets a bulkhead, the other people around them need to get a bulkhead.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, that's the deal. That's the
That's
deal.
a dangerous piece, just looking at it historically, it was created by oyster shells.
Uh-huh,
So, I mean, it's a dangerous piece of property.
uh-huh. That's
is there anything
interesting.
else we can add to that one?
Nope.
Oh, I thought of something, but I can't think of what it was.
We can come back.
Yeah, I don't
We
think
can come
so.
back to it.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to the list.
Still got 10. I do. It's 10 and a half hours. Yeah. It's great.
So Oyster Festival participation and return.
And that's,
I
I'm
think,
assuming that means how does the town get more benefit
Yes.
financially from the
I think
Oyster
that
I
Festival?
think we've got everything we can get. And I think we're getting greedy with trying to take from the Oyster Festival for something that we all, I must say, all of us enjoy and participate in.
when
I
I
would agree
put
with
that
you
on
on that.
my list, it was concerned that it was not sustainable. And that maybe we needed to work more closely with the foundation
I think that was part.
Absolutely.
in trying to look 20 years down the road and make sure it's still there doing what it's supposed to do and all those other kind of things.
Agree.
I was not thinking in terms on my list of how much more we could get out of it, although there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I'm just saying that's not
Well,
what I was
it
thinking.
looks
I
like
think
it was only
that's
two people that
Alana's
had it on their
primary.
list.
Yeah.
And I was
That's
one.
a Alana
Thank-
issue.
I didn't put it
You
on.
could, you,
Alana's undoubtedly,
Yes.
Yeah, I did. It was number 4 on my list.
Yeah.
That's what
Correct.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, maybe we ought to have more reports from the foundation. They ought to come in here and talk to us more about it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if they have a bad year, and it's all weather dictated, maybe there's something we could do to build up help them build up a surplus so that they can get through those bad years.
and
Yeah.
and when you go to the after party, it's amazing. There another one that the expenses for the police, what was the police expenses?
It was
I mean,
80,000.
it's gone from like 25,000 3 years ago to like $80,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a scary amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one reason it's on my list is because hopefully we can help them continue to be there,
Agree.
not try to take money. Although, if we can make more money from it, that's fine, but.
Right.
But that's not the
You-
reason I voted.
You're interested in increasing the return is to sustainability for the event, not
Yeah, because
not necessarily for the town,
Yes.
I think
which is
that-
altruistic and appreciated, but
That festival is not just good for the town, but it's tremendously important
it-
for the
it-
county of Middlesex.
it
Yeah,
absolutely,
it's true.
it absolutely
It
is.
should help us.
And that's where I was coming from.
Okay.
Yep,
So-
I agree.
I heard, you want to go back to the priority list, the
Did you say the party list?
priority?
Oh, I was gonna say, I didn't know we had a party list, dog.
I-
Well,
I
no,
heard it
you
too.
and Beth set up the party. I'm just trying to help them get the
Well,
meeting going.
we can put a party on.
We like to
All right, so this one, work with foundation to make sure it's sustainable for the future. Okay, I would also add on there, seek better communications,
Yes.
you know.
I
very
think so. When things are good, you're not gonna hear from anybody.
Right.
But when things are bad, you're gonna hear from them.
And so better communication and situational awareness.
I'm talking about financially bad. I'm not talking about bad.
Yeah.
And I also think that those of us that have helped with it continue to help. Michelle helps. I've helped. I don't know. Billy's helped. But if you got a couple hours, give them a hand so they aren't short people.
So you want to put another,
That was worth
engage,
the beer tent.
engage
Yeah,
in
that's
the
what I
I
did
served beer, does that
a couple
count?
years ago. Yeah,
Yeah, that's.
I did the IDs. You were inside.
Play it up. The Oyster Festival is the largest festival in the country and the second
Right.
oldest festival in the nation.
Wow.
Yes.
Is it really?
Yes.
Galloway is number one, which I will be visiting in October.
Oh, the
Nice.
Yeah.
Oyster
So,
one,
is
their,
that-
their festival?
Is the
Yeah.
distinction not volunteer run? I thought that was the distinction.
Oldest is, first is Galloway, second is the,
St. Mary's?
our Urbana Oyster
Urbana.
Festival. There's differentials between all the festivals out there. They are all ran by paid staff charging. The Urbana Oyster Festival has one paid employee and is all volunteers to
Yep.
make it happen.
That's wild.
That is a crucial difference.
Yeah.
But it's phenomenal what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So we just need to continue, and we need to tagline it, Town of Urbana,
Right.
home of.
Brand.
Exactly.
We need to brand it
Right.
better.
We need to brand it a little better.
Right.
Your state shuckers come out of this festival.
That's right.
There's a lot of things that happen right here in
Right.
Urbana that can be promoted and help both them and us.
Well, that's what we can do when we get together too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
So,
we're paying $80,000 for local deputies. We're not paying a cent for state police.
That is
Right,
Right.
right.
And so, I mean, they're.
Yet. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
coming.
Okay, it's coming.
And the VDOT bill is through the roof,
Yeah.
through the roof.
you know, so let me just, everybody's looking for money. Okay, it's just the nature.
Yeah.
I get
So I know, one of the things, before we leave this, add on there, branding, town branding.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we can work on that when we do our
All right, so
thing.
now then go back to the first one. I want
And when
to,
it comes to volunteerism, I saw something recently where it was less than a decade ago, something like 65% of people thought volunteerism was important, and it's down to 27%.
Oh my gosh.
But
Yeah.
because there's been nothing for people to volunteer for.
that, I can't believe that, because you got volunteer fire departments, you
Well,
got
you got
volunteer
volunteer
rescue
fire.
squads.
People don't want to volunteer for fire department,
You
but
got,
they'll
you got
volunteer for a.
Kiwanis, you got Lions, you got Boy Scouts, you got Girl Scouts. I think it's just,
sometimes
it's a
people don't
change in the
know
culture.
how to volunteer.
Yeah.
They don't know how to get in touch.
Look
I
at
think-
us.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we
Or-
get sucked in because
Or people don't put it out there. The Girl Scouts don't put out they need volunteers.
Saying people don't say, "Hey, we're
Yeah.
looking for volunteers," for people to go. Well, I'd like to volunteer over there.
Right.
Right. Before-
Even the Oyster
Well,
Fest
and we've got all
doesn't,
the,
do they?
all the events from
It's a
the
bigger
UVA.
problem than that. It's an
And the
economic
same
thing.
Yes.
folks, people
So
who
before,
volunteer over
before we
and
get
over,
off of
same
the
10
VDOT issue, I said everybody's looking for money. And when I went to one of the panel meetings that I'm on, I spoke to the colonel and thanked him for the free troopers. He said, happy to do it. Now, whether he can continue to do it
Right.
is
Yeah.
another thing.
Right.
Somebody had speeding on there, okay?
did.
And, okay, so we talked about getting the speeding thing, the mantra.
Right.
And, okay, so there's a bill in the General Assembly right now that says if you use the camera speeding that generates the ticket based on your license plate and all that kind of stuff, the money no longer goes to local law
Oh,
enforcement.
good.
Nope.
Is that-
Goes to
It goes
VDOT.
to VDOT,
It
Oh,
goes to VDOT.
yeah.
Goes to VDOT, not
Yep, to VDOT.
not right.
VDOT.
VML's
It's-
trying to get it
it's-
opposed,
It's a
but Mm-hmm.
bill, it's a bill in the General Assembly that would take the local, and we talked about, we needed to,
Right.
that the money would not be coming to us, it would be going to the sheriff's department,
That would
okay?
put King and Queen County.
If that bill passes, it won't even go to the sheriff's department, it'll go to VDOT,
to VDOT, yeah.
okay?
Haven't all of us had
So-
tickets there?
And
That's
VDOT
a
has
little-
nothing to do with the purchase of the
Little bit of a
device
sidebar.
or anything.
So we would have to pay for the equipment and they get the.
They get the money.
Oh my gosh, that's awful.
That's like DMV Select.
Yeah, exactly.
Ted is a small question, but on the return side, if we purchase the town hall, don't the town suddenly own the land around here in the lot and there?
Yeah, and we
That's a
get,
little rent that you
and
haven't
we
been
get
able to
rent on
generate
the, we get
before.
rent on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go, there's some
Yeah.
return.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit.
All right,
Prefer
so work prioritization with board for town benefit. As I said, when I opened this slide up, that's kind of what we're doing tonight,
Yeah.
okay?
Yes, it
So-
is. And that's not something that has been done.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
it was something that you all wanted done
Right.
within like 2 or 3 months of my first being here.
Yeah.
And that's about the same time I figured out where the men's room was and the coffee pot, okay?
Yeah, that's
So
right.
you
That's
know,
right.
gotten a year under my belt
done
now.
well.
You know,
You have.
well, thank you. Thank you very much. How much do I owe you for that?
Where's the bathroom?
Which one do you want? I know where they all are. I'm not even sure. I think if you will. Pardon me. I think this is an overarching.
It is.
Right.
It is.
So could we
Yep,
throw that one out?
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. So that leaves you zoning enforcement.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's
well,
very important.
You know, as the snow melts and the flowers bloom, everybody comes out in the yard, and then they're seeing all the junk cars and all the uncut grass. I'm doing what I can. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I can.
And I'll move my truck.
I have a small positive story.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
You know, with the BZA hearing for Riddick and all of that, and one of the points of criticism that I made was that he hadn't followed through with the things that he had promised to do. One of them being painting his cottage an approved color
Right.
instead of Caribbean blue. Do you know that it got painted just over the holidays?
Oh,
Wow,
okay.
good.
And yeah, I know.
Good.
It's no longer Caribbean blue. It's kind of a light gray blue that was the color that they said they would paint it.
Okay.
I know.
Nice.
Well, there's
Isn't
a
that
positive.
amazing?
Zoning enforcement, and
course. But
how
then
you
we
all
did it.
see zoning enforcement, how I see zoning enforcement, or maybe a little different, because when somebody comes in, they've got to process a zoning,
Yeah.
a special use permit,
Yeah.
that's zoning enforcement.
Right.
Right.
Going out and getting somebody to move a junk car, that's
Right.
zoning enforcement. So, you know, processing permits, that, all of that is in that zoning enforcement piece.
Right.
And so it's kind of, as it comes to me, I deal with it. You deal with it through special use permits, rezonings, everything else like that that might come your way. What do you want to do with this one?
It's your job. I'd kick it out.
Well, I brought something forward to you yesterday. I think that's a zoning enforcement issue.
Yep. I got one, well, you're exactly right, and I've got to look into it.
Right.
But I got
Well,
one
you know-
today from,
Good luck with
I'll
that.
just say an entity in town.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We won't say any
Yeah.
names, but.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. If you need me, I'm home during the days. Okay.
Thanks for coming. I got one today, a local entity came in and said, we want to change our sign, but we'd like to do X. And I was like, I'm not so sure you can do X. I got to research it.
Yeah.
So there's time that
Right.
I got to sit.
Right.
If they're in the historical district, they have to go before the harbor board. to
They're
get
not.
it.
So it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
so
made it a
that's
little
one less-
easier.
one
Made it a
less-
little easier.
Well, the one I brought forward
It's
is in the
in the
historic
historic
district.
So they kind of ebb and flow, but you know, in the wintertime, it gets really quiet because nobody's out, nobody's
Right.
about.
Right.
But you know, it was like,
Oh.
oh, look, you know, they're out walking the dog. Look at the beautiful blooming tree. Where'd that junk car come from? You know,
But
Well,
also,
there-
what about the people who do stuff who are not supposed to do stuff?
if we get complaints, we move on them.
So the person that shouldn't be doing something is still doing something and adding to it.
Right.
So
So what?
how do we take care of that?
I agree.
That one's, I know the one you're talking about, and that one's, I can't talk any specifics, but I think I know the one you're talking about. And I was on the phone today with a state agency about that one.
Yeah, because it's getting worse.
I know,
So-
on multiple layers.
Yes,
Or
Yes.
multiple layers.
yes.
So what do you want to do with zoning enforcement? You want to keep it in there as a priority, or do you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a standard
It's
part
a-
of government function.
Ongoing.
All right, go to the write-up page.
And I know Steve does some, the maintenance and stuff, and he's training and helping Maribel, but there could be some of that maybe he goes and says, you know, hey, Tim, you have to move this car. It's, you know,
Well, and
I don't know how
I
that
think
works, if
that
that's okay.
I want to
But-
say it's not, and here's why. You hired me as a zoning administrator.
Oh, I
I don't-
realize that,
I took the
but,
oath, so.
but
that's-
you seem to be, you know, you have a lot going on, so that's why I'm saying, Because it was switched over to Martha at one point too, so.
Not completely, not
Well,
completely, but that
so
was
it
the
wouldn't be
plan.
much different than doing that.
All right, so on that point, make a bullet point that incorporate staff eyes. In other words, if the staff's out and about, if they see something that doesn't look right,
Be
somebody building,
proactive.
yeah, be, you know,
Be
And
proactive
and
instead
that's
of
sort of a
being
variance
uncomfortable.
because we had
You said
when we were
complaint
doing
only.
these other things that it was gonna be
Case-
constituent complaint generating.
Right.
Right.
Not us going out and, you know,
Because I mean, I drive down the street, I can find you lots of stuff.
Oh, yeah, I
Just
can
driving down
too. It's
one
just,
street.
I'm sure.
the only reason I called you, and you know why I called you, so I mean, but I don't normally do that,
there's
except,
certain people that are chronic offenders on stuff.
Absolutely.
oh, yeah. Well, this, yeah, the person's still living in the trailer in front of the house. So,
I've had conversations with them, and they gave it an argument, that argument.
it's
has
their
got-
office, yeah.
Yeah, it's their office and all that kind of stuff. You know, back in the day, I would go at night and knock on a trailer
Yeah,
and see if anybody answered the
they
door.
do, they're in there.
How about the Airbnb issue where people are having that without the proper
I
zoning?
turned that to the,
Oh, there is, something, up for the legislature this year. I read about it in the Sentinel, actually, when I was doing my back reading on Sentinels from the weeks I was gone. And, it would require Airbnbs to register with, I don't remember which state entity.
I thought Department of Agriculture?
And
It
they
was-
would collect, and that they would collect, that they would pay a tax to the state to have an Airbnb, and that the state would report that to the locality.
So we would know.
What
I
to,
wonder if they didn't do that.
Have you read about that
Yeah,
from
'cause-
Michelle?
And it was
It's-
agriculture, it wasn't Department of Health?
I can't remember.
No,
I
it's,
read,
I don't remember which
I read
one
the
it was.
It's
article.
on VML, they've got, it's
I
in
read the
the,
article right before the meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
it's in VML.
Because
Interesting new.
hotels and stuff are Department of Health.
But as far as the status, what, you know, I want to say, Michelle does a really good job. She'll hit
Yeah.
Facebook and she'll
Yeah.
see stuff being
Oh,
advertised.
I know.
And,
But I mean, if
Um,
we have somebody who's doing an Airbnb who's not been doing all that,
if
what
we
do
find,
we
if we,
do?
if we find it on
We've
Facebook
got
or
that.
something, the treasurer brings it forward,
Yeah.
okay? Because she's enforcing the treasury part of it,
Okay.
okay? To clear it, it's got to go through zoning, okay?
And then we have all the steps for what, we talked about that last council session, steps that will be taken to deal with it.
Well, if you also noticed, your revenue for lodging has gone down. Several of the, what was short-term rentals have sold and are no
Ah.
longer.
Yeah,
I also believe it's because they were flooding the market, and a conversation that we also had.
Yep.
The prices
right.
of them are extremely high.
Yep.
And they can go over and stay in Gloucester at the Comfort Inn for way less.
Yeah.
That they can rent for one night, or 2 nights. So maybe some of them are weeding themselves out.
I think that.
And
may
I always
be-
thought that was gonna be the case, that the market will only handle so many Airbnbs
Well,
and.
I know when there was the conversation about setting a number, and I
Yeah.
made the argument,
Yeah.
have you set a number on doctor's offices? Have you set a number on used car dealerships? No,
Yeah.
you don't set numbers. You let the market, you allow the use by right or special use permit. You address the use, not the number. Free market takes care of the number. And I think Michelle's right. There've been so many, people have probably said
That seems
enough.
to be happening. We're also, post-COVID, and I think that they proliferated during COVID. When
Yeah.
people were concerned about guarding their individual space and their health.
Going
their
to a
health for
hotel.
that. But there are localities who have done, limitation on numbers of Airbnbs because of the impact on rental housing. And when that has become critical, then it's become a planning issue. And, yeah.
Yeah, well, 2 of the Airbnbs sold, and now they're private residents.
Which ones?
Gary and Matt's
Oh, yeah,
sold.
that's right.
That's
That's
where,
right.
Debbie's.
and Debbie and-
Price's
Oh, did Debbie sell?
the same, within a month
And
of
Judy
each
and
other.
Pete Mansfield.
Yeah, Judy and
Oh, that's
Pat's,
true.
and,
That's
yeah,
true.
and they're,
There's 3 of 'em.
She gave it
So I also want to talk a little bit more about the zoning enforcement in terms of some things that have happened in the last year. And you all, we talked about it, it's kind of a blip, it happened. But for how many years did business licenses get issued without zoning clearance?
Right.
Well, that stopped this year.
Yeah.
Good.
That's
Okay?
right. That's
And
right.
we still have a couple of those pending. We still have a couple of those pending, that the people are running a business without a business license. But we made a big jump. In fact, that's when we had to say, oh my gosh, you're going to have people do $300 special use permits for home occupations, and it's like, no, that's not practical.
Right.
So,
It's tiered. 300 is the most.
yeah, it's 300, but for a home occupation where if you
Yeah.
look at the house, you can't tell anything's going
Yeah,
on.
right.
Why should that person have to go through a special use permit?
Exactly.
So I think we've done a lot in the way of zoning enforcement, but and I think that was a huge step, because where it wasn't done, it's created a lot of problems.
Right.
The other, and I think too, again, work toward consistency
Okay.
with our zoning
Go ahead and put that on there.
enforcement.
Yes, I agree.
Because some of the inconsistencies that have happened in recent years have created a lot of
Yeah.
problems.
And I spend a lot of time trying to resolve those
I know you
inconsistencies.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you do. The other thing is, where are we with Ted's willingness to be the zoning administrator for a temporary period of time? Does that fit into this question at all? That was part of
I'm
our
go-
visit
yeah.
with him, and I
Yeah.
don't want to ignore it. Ted.
Well, that was and maybe this is a personnel discussion, but
Okay.
that was kind of the plan with Martha's background.
Right.
We don't have any on staff other than myself
Yeah.
that has that kind of planning and zoning background.
Right.
So it's probably with me for a while, and I'm willing to do
Okay.
it. I mean, you guys need
So we're
you
not
guys
going
need
to
the
make
help.
that a priority at this time?
Nope.
Well, I mean, as far as if
Okay.
you want to, substantial increase for Ted, that's fine if you want to put that in there. But yeah, I think you're good there. Yeah, I think
Okay,
you're good there.
Okay, I just didn't want to ignore that.
Yeah, and the situation has changed, but at the same time, the handoff was going to be something where I was going to be here, so
Right.
that was something that
Right.
I'd always be the fallback person until the situation changes again, or you all want to hire a part-time zoning administrator with money from
yeah.
the
The money that we save on the pool.
Yes, exactly. Or you make off the pool. All right, let's go back to the first list.
Okay.
Let's go back to the first list.
I know we want to go back to the first list,
Mm-hmm.
but there are a couple of things that I do want to comment on.
On this?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, on the list and what's not on the list.
Okay.
For instance,
Let's go to what's not on
Main
the list.
Street,
Yeah.
I didn't bring it up because Main Street knows that we can't get any kind of funding from the town. And so we're pursuing our own.
But town time's being spent on Main Street.
But town time is being spent on Main Street, yeah.
That's why I put it up there.
Okay,
Yeah, I
okay.
didn't want to lose Main Street. Okay.
yeah.
I'm helping you out here.
Yeah, I know you are. I know you are. I know you are. I know you are.
You had a couple? You said,
The other one that I had, and that's something, and I should have thought of it, but I didn't think of it at the time, but when we get together, sometimes I think of things. And that is that we've talked a lot in the past about finding ways to improve the relationship of town council, the town and Middlesex County.
Right.
I think we're doing a really good job with that at this point.
Okay, but I think that needs to continue to be
Oh,
a
yeah.
priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it hasn't been for a very long time, and I think that needs to continue to be a priority.
It's not just with the Matt and Anne Marie, but also with the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah.
We've
Dawn-
met with them.
well, Don's been coming to the meetings, dropping in on some of the
Yes.
meetings.
Which is new, yeah,
But I'm sure appreciated.
yes.
Yes, definitely.
That's right.
And I when the times that he's been, hey, do you want to say anything? He said, no, I'm just here.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
it's like,
I was
okay.
thinking
Okay,
about
that's
doing the
good.
same thing in the Board of Supervisors
Yeah.
meeting. I was kind of invited to start coming to them.
You
Yeah,
should.
you
Yeah, we all, yeah,
Yes.
All are
we,
cool with it.
You
Yes.
should.
oh, yeah, we've
should.
all been invited, just nobody's really ever gone.
Yeah.
Well, they have it at odd times.
I would,
Yeah, I will
do.
say,
They've
the
got it, like,
last
in the
one,
middle of the
actually,
afternoon or
that was the day after the meeting, I was stuck at home 6, but I'll try to make the next couple. But
Yeah,
they're
it's at
during,
3
they're
o'clock.
during the
Yeah,
workday,
it
so it
is.
is tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to one just to introduce myself. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my point, was just to sit in.
Yeah, please do
Try to
if
be
you
quiet.
can.
Not good at being quiet.
YouTube. What's that?
And Christina's also gonna meet with them
And you can watch them at
to help with that.
Oh,
Oh,
You
boy.
oughta know.
Yeah, yeah. But that doesn't have you there building
Yeah,
a
but you,
relationship.
yeah.
Right,
It's
right.
when they take the break that you build a relationship.
right.
Yep.
Christine, you want to go back to the first slide?
But you can
And,
watch
and that has been a benefit with me going to those Middle
PDC.
Peninsula Planning District Commission
Yes.
meetings.
They're
Yeah.
very
Is
good.
that Matt and Wayne Jesse and Reggie Williams are always there. And sometimes Kendall, Alana's daughter.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. It's a
what is
good,
her role?
it is a.
She is an at-large Middlesex County board member.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, we did the left side, here's the right side, performance evaluations. The members of the Personnel Committee have my first cut on
Yeah.
personnel evaluations. So,
Did we decide on a meeting time?
I know you and I did, I didn't hear
Yeah.
back from the other two members.
Okay.
So,
I-
You,
I
he did
replied to you.
reply, but
Oh.
Larry's not here, so.
okay, so we need to wrap that up.
Yeah, we
Okay.
do.
The street signage, that's the project with the county. I could go back and find out where we are on that.
Yeah, we look like a Peter Pan little stuff out there. Peter Pans have fluttered around and changed up stuff.
But not consistently.
No.
Yeah,
It's
Not
yeah.
at all. It looks horrible.
But you all's decision about how you wanted the signs,
Yeah.
that's all gone to them. Promotion of town events.
That was me.
I agree with Marjorie on that.
I still think on promotion of town events, and one of the things that Main Street has talked about is that it would be beneficial to create a calendar of events. And if you're creating a town, I think
We have a little,
webpage or Facebook page, that was one of the things I saw on Christine's list. And because, and of course, Trent has always argued, oh, well, we just use the River Realm and this and that, and it's like, there are so many things that don't get caught there.
No.
We need to.
well, we have a committee now.
Who's
and
we?
It's me, Beth,
Yeah, we have a
Yeah, yeah,
committee.
yeah, yeah.
and
Events.
Michelle.
Oh, you do?
So,
This is while you were out of
Yeah.
town.
so we'll be working on that.
Yeah.
Good,
kind of
that's
thing,
good,
so.
that's good, because we need
And
it.
there's a lot of promotion that can be done with no charge. Channel
Yes.
8 will promote anything that we have town-wise. There's radio stations, everything. Beth knows some of those. I've contacted some. We've got Second Saturday on there.
Definitely need a calendar.
So the way Second Saturdays started, I mean, we're on our 5th year, so,
Yeah.
Gosh, that's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe.
so it's running smooth, so.
All right, so you feel like the promotion of town events is something that can slide over to the committee?
Yes.
All right, so that's an ongoing project. The street signage is an ongoing project. Performance evaluation should be an ongoing project,
Yes.
but
Yes.
an annual ongoing.
Yes.
Okay,
I have a quick question. Does Dave do our website?
yes.
So we need to pull him in on the promotional thing that we're talking about.
Yes,
Good thought.
yes,
Well,
we
and
will with
part
the
of it is-
signage too, Beth.
It's been
Okay.
proprietary, so that you had to, we have to rely on him to make any changes, but I think we want Christine to become the administrator,
Oh, good.
so that it can be easily done,
Right.
done timely, because that.
Well, we're
seems
paying
be
him
a
to do it,
front-
so-
I
Well,
know it.
I think there's a
know,
difference
that's
between
true.
technical administrator
Right.
and content
Right.
administrator.
Yes,
Right.
there you
Yeah.
go, there you
Right.
go,
Yeah.
there
Right.
you go.
So-
Yeah, right.
All right, so performance promotion town, employee compensation, I think that's that's gonna be a budget issue.
Yep.
Every year. 4th of July fireworks.
Well, where are we with that?
That was
So-
one of my concerns.
I'll let Miss
'Cause
Justice,
people gonna freak out.
I'll let Miss Justice carry that one.
Okay, my idea, we talked about last year, but we were against
Oh,
the wall
yeah,
because we didn't have enough
yeah.
time to do anything. I spoke to Wayne Jesse, and he found a guy in Deltaville who builds barges that we could set the fireworks from. Now, I know they're gonna cost something, but, my thought was we could get them, and Wayne and I both talked about, I got his input, where we could have sections of it. So we could take it down to the marina maybe and use it over there when we're not using it
Oh,
for
so
the
in other words,
fireworks.
buy
Oh,
the
you're saying
barge?
buy the
Buy
barge.
it.
Oh.
Because
oh.
remember we checked the Yorktown for them to push a barge over here.
They
It
wanted
was-
45,000.
Oh my
bucks.
gosh.
Yeah,
So why would we want to rent? Why wouldn't we want to just invest in one that we would use every year? We could use it for other activities as
we
well.
could rent it out.
That's,
We could rent it out.
So what's the
Yes.
cost of it, Beth?
I mean, I have to check
gonna
again
be
because it's been
huge.
Okay.
a year almost, or 6 months.
Yeah.
But I think it's something we should look at because we could have some really cool things on those barges. And then, like I said, and you said we could rent it out, but then we could, if we had it sections where we could hook it, we could put it over the marina and use it for something, maybe the
And
kayaks.
then we gotta find.
Yeah.
now, okay, so now that was something that we looked at a little bit last year, because we had an offer of, well, I can get you some barges, but they gotta be hooked together.
Right.
So the fireworks guys was like, how are they hooked together?
Right.
You know?
But we would have these special made, I would think, for
And
that.
that's why I'm saying that would be something where, okay, we're thinking about buying a barge for this size show for
It
every
can't
year,
be
every,
flammable. It's gotta be.
it's
Yeah,
gotta be
it's gotta
steel.
be
Yeah,
metal.
it's gotta be
Yeah.
steel.
That's where you need to have that in conjunction with conversations with whoever you're gonna use.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of locked into that company, not that we had a good relationship
imagine
with the
there
But we
people
would
in
be
Ohio.
getting
Well,
we
somebody
could
local
somewhat
from Middlesex
uniform.
County to do it. That would be a plus.
Fireworks?
No,
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 the-
I
the-
mean the
the
barge.
barge.
We
barge.
should, Middlesex Metals.
We should
But-
go back to the original fireworks company and talk to them because that's
Yeah.
where we got our best deal.
It
And
was.
But Bill was saying something about doing some smaller ones, and I won't say on somebody, whoever he was thinking about us doing it on. I think we should try to stick with the big ones because that's what makes it so awesome.
right, right.
And then that
Yeah.
pulls all those people in
Yeah.
here. My
Right.
gosh, y'all see all those
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, and the
And they
restaurants
don't
are
care
full.
If we have a band like we did
Uh-uh.
last year, they just want the fireworks.
Yeah, and,
do.
and last year
Fireworks and
was,
food.
last year was so hard to do because of the heat.
It was.
Yes.
I mean, that was,
yeah.
that was when we got the
Yes.
heat.
But if all
we-
we had to concentrate on were the
Fireworks.
fireworks, then it would be so much less for us to do, and everybody comes in and
But
eats
we
at the
would have to-
restaurants.
We would have to get the fireworks company under
All right,
contract.
let's go
like
back, let's go
today.
back to, let's go back to the priorities.
But I think the barge is a good idea, and I'm not the only one who thinks that.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a great idea. We just don't have anywhere to, we can't do
So-
fireworks, so we don't have something to get it out in the
Priority,
water.
priority 7 would be 4th of July,
And it's coming soon.
and we would have to loop in,
People got irate last year.
Oh, I know it.
all right, so you'd have to loop in
Wants to pay anything.
subpoint, barge, cost estimate.
Right.
But as part of going to that, we'd also have another subpoint where you're asking for engagement with the vendor.
Right.
And what I can do, I can reach out to them and say, hey, because that vendor was doing shows at like the Cleveland Indians and
right.
Yeah,
Guardians.
yeah.
I think it's the
uh,
largest company in the.
Yeah, they're
the States.
Yeah, yeah. They were in Ohio,
Right.
and to say, hey, what for this size show that we usually put on? What is your
What's the
what's the what
Right.
what are your specs on that
Right.
barge?
Yeah,
Right.
they're in Stowe,
And
right,
he may have,
right down the street
Yeah.
from my ex-father-in-law's house.
And-
Yeah,
and he may be able to pull that right out of a file.
right.
All right, so barge estimate. Let's say
Conversation with
cost
the same restaurant.
barge cost estimate with engagement with the vendor, or
Yes.
with engagement of vendor. Okay.
And this,
Just out of curiosity, did you ever have any conversation with them about that spot that we talked about?
Not yet. I'll work it. I'll work the two conversations in.
Okay.
Okay.
this is because we've lost our land we were shooting them from, and
Yes.
no
Yes.
other
Because of
suitable
insurance.
replacement has been found.
Yeah.
Right. Not to shoot the size ones
Yeah,
we want to shoot.
you need, what is it, 100 feet per inch of shell that you set off? And what we had were 4, 5, and 6-inch shells that were at Rosegill. And so you need a diameter or a radius of 600 feet for a 6-inch shell. And that's.
But
you
if
know,
we're out in the
two-
water-
Two football fields of clear space to
Yeah.
set the thing off. And Rosegill was a good location,
Yeah.
but because of misunderstandings, they never realized that they were supposed to sign off on being insured, and when they checked with their insurance, they said they would be dropped if they had fireworks on their property.
But even if you took it out to the river right
Yeah,
there
I
and
mean-
shot it, you got all that water.
I would think with all the construction companies and stuff around here, we'd be able to rent a barge from somewhere.
Well,
I don't think
the-
we should
Part
rent
of
it.
the
I think we
problem,
should.
Robbie, was that there was the Baltimore Bridge collapse.
Yeah, and couldn't.
That
And
was on top
The
of-
availability of barges, they were all up the bay.
and that was on top of the Hampton, tunnel being redone.
Yes, and that.
So if I go down there with some regularity, and there are barges all over the place. And you got barges sitting out in the middle with just stuff kept on them, so there's tons of barges, they're just all tied up right now.
And the barge has to be one that the company that you hires
We'll do it.
Yeah.
all.
is willing
Go
to
back
do
to
it on.
Yeah.
Right.
The first page. All right, let's run down the rest of the, see if you all want to pull some of these other ones in. All right, so management decorum. I'll leave you all to discuss this one.
Who put it on the,
I
who
know.
put it up?
That's what I was gonna say.
You gotta speak up.
You got it.
Go,
Private.
go back to your
I
list
think I
with the
probably
individuals.
did that for people to be respectful.
Oh, here we go.
And,
Let's look here. Let's see.
while we're sitting up here.
So that was for council, not management.
Well, kind of both, because, but mainly council. Because there's no reason for any of us to be rude to one another at all, or condescending, or mocking, or,
Number 4. Yeah.
So-
Number 4.
Yeah, that, I had a point on that too, Marjorie.
right. So, I mean, it's, we're on YouTube, and we should carry ourselves with some decorum. We don't have to like one another, but we're here to do a job. We were elected by the taxpayer, so we need to be civil. And do the
Yeah,
right
so that
thing.
was, yeah, because this is on the one list. These, okay. So there it is.
I agree.
Yep.
All right. Do you all want to write something up on that as a priority?
No,
No.
Okay. Marina docks,
no,
It's already underway, isn't it?
yes.
yep.
That's all.
And that was just, that was my list of getting some of at the marina, getting some floating docks to encourage smaller boats to come in, because if you show up there with a small boat, you gotta have a ladder to get off or
Right.
on your boat,
you're not
depending on where the tide is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta use it both ways.
What happened with something fell through, didn't it, with the Christchurch floating dock?
Oh, it didn't fall through. We bought it, and then they said the person we bought it from couldn't sell it to us. so
Oh,
we
was
had
that
to
it?
take
Okay,
yeah.
I just.
So they
knew
gave
that.
us our money back, and we
we
gave them
bought
the
it-
dock back.
We bought it from A, B called up and said, where's my dock?
Dock, oh dear. Oh,
And
dear.
we said, well, we bought it from A, and they said, well, A didn't own it.
Yep.
Oh.
So we need a floating dock big enough to launch fireworks off of.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah, there you go.
And the one we sold wouldn't work, so,
It's-
Right.
all right.
So that
there's-
was a wash. We had it for a little bit.
Yeah. Just a couple minutes. And
So I'll just ask the question broadly. Is there anything the rest of the list that you all want to put on your priority list?
I do, retiring the water fee debt, meaning, the bills that are past due, because
Okay.
it's a bit crazy
Oh, I
from
see,
what I
I
learned.
see,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Not the,
Yeah.
not the well or anything.
I'll share with everybody.
This is the paper you gave me the other day. There's quite a bit of money, more than anybody knows,
I know.
owed. And we need to get that
So let me,
reined in.
this was as of when the water committee met. According to HRSD, as of 1/2/25, Urbana is $66,338.07 in delinquencies. This is water and sewage.
Now, these-
$66,000.
Now, this is the list that you've been
This is
chipping
Yeah,
away
yeah,
at,
yeah,
and
so
you've
we're-
been bringing money.
We're working it down, okay.
Yeah.
They are.
As of,
And that's
sure
water
are.
and sewer.
Water and sewer.
Right.
so 66,338.07.
Wow.
As of 1/16/25, we have collected $26,236.60. No, That's,
Is
Yeah,
it?
it's
that's
Maribel.
Maribel. Yeah.
Go staff.
I-
yeah.
Maribel and Ted.
I've gotten to play along a couple of times. And look, seriously, we're working with people if they have a justifiable reason, like we didn't get the bill, and we can document that they didn't get the
Right.
bill.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we've got people who,
They're pregnant with elephants.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just, I mean,
Exactly.
I'm sorry, I just got to go there. If you remember the Blues Brothers scene where Carrie Fisher confronts John Belushi, and he drops to his knees and comes up with all the reasons why he
Yeah.
stood her up at the altar.
Right,
You remember that?
right.
Okay,
That's what
that's what I've been hearing. Okay. All right, but there have been folks that they've made a good substantial payment and they're working towards. So we're working with people where it's legitimate to work with people.
Yep.
But where we've had people come in years ago, sign a payment schedule, make one payment, never hear from them again.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
And you've had a number of them that you've contacted them, and they've literally paid in full the next day.
All right, so here we go. Here's the numbers. Okay, so we've collected 236,236.60. This is combined water and sewer. All right, 23,901 was collected due to delinquency notices. $2,335.06 was paid due to word getting out.
Oh.
We actually had a couple of people say,
Word on this
"I've heard you guys are
delinquent,
turning." Yep, yep. Out of the 15 notices being put out, 2 accounts have been adjusted $2,759.42. So here's the math: the 66 minus the 26 equals 40 minus the 2 adjust. We have now remaining $37,342.05 in delinquency. So half, we've cut it down in half.
Yeah.
Now, in that 15, we actually did three cutoffs.
And one of the people said, "Thank you for cutting it
Yeah,
off."
one, yeah,
I wanted
that
to
was
cut
part
it.
of the
I
deal.
don't-
That was part of the
I
deal.
don't want water.
He wanted to stop the bleeding. Okay,
That's
so,
great.
so we are knocking that down, but you got to remember, every 60 days,
Oh, yeah.
you have people
Right.
Get new
who
ones.
get new ones. So
Yeah.
it's like zoning enforcement.
Yeah.
Every day you get another, factor.
Well,
So will you
that-
ever knock it down to zero? Probably not.
No,
But
but
are
it
you?
won't be
It won't be 6,000.
$66,000.
Right. Yeah. So
And then the only other thing would have been the personnel policy
that
to get that
is-
finished in
that's with
employee handbook.
that's with the attorney.
Okay, so it's been with the attorney now for quite a while.
It has been. Yep. It has been.
Okay,
All right. So do you want to make any of those a priority item, like on the back page?
I think because it's so personnel intensive that we need to say that we are making a retiring or managing collection on the water fee debt
Okay.
an ongoing priority. It's a revenue.
yeah.
It's a revenue issue.
Okay.
I think we need to have that up there, and it's so staff intensive that I think it needs to be a priority.
All right. So priority 8 is going to be
water
water
collection.
Water collection. Yeah.
Water
Past due.
collection.
Yeah. Past
Past
due
due.
water collection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so remember, when we get the 60, so we're going to try to clear, I think it's next Monday. We did a batch of 10,
Right.
and we just got to, okay, we don't know how many to start with. We don't know, what the deluge end is going to be, what the deluge of cutoffs are going to be. So we started with 10. After we did the 10, I asked Maribel, what do you want to do? She says, not 10 again.
Yeah,
So we went with 5.
yeah, it's
So
gonna
we went
take a
5.
little bit.
Yeah,
I
so we gotta-
understand
we gotta
that,
chip
but
it
we
away.
just gotta make sure we keep plugging away at it, and not let it sit.
we are down into the 4-digit figures now in
Oh,
terms
good.
of,
Good.
yeah.
Good.
All right,
Wow.
priority past due water.
No kidding.
Just, do we want to say,
Continue to devote
Continue.
personnel, time, and efforts to
Collection?
ongoing collection of past due water bills.
And then the only other thing was, like I said, the personnel handbook,
okay, go ahead and throw that up there.
personnel policy, and then the the handbook for, rules, vacation.
Personnel policy.
Right.
Personnel
Yeah.
policy.
Personnel policy.
We've needed that. It's just like, same with
Yeah.
performance evaluations.
Right.
And Ted's on that.
Yep.
Just need to get it, to get it done.
Go back to number 1. There might be some language in number 1 that we can pull for this. What happened to your little circles? I like your little circles.
She'll get it back. She'll get it back. It's hard to do.
No
All right,
pressure.
Oh,
I like to say express urgency with attorney.
Yes.
yes, yes,
Please.
yes.
Okay, so there's your 8.
Yep.
Do you, the question I was going to ask was, do you like them in that order? Or do you want to switch the order around?
I think number 3 could be moved down. No, it couldn't. Never mind.
I think they're fine.
Yeah, I think they're fine
fine
too.
the way
Yeah.
They do reflect what your top 5 scores
Right.
were.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
They do. I do have, I'm gonna throw it out here, but I don't know where it goes. And that is, I think we need to do something to urge our attorney to be more timely and responsive to our needs.
Yes.
Go to,
I think she might be just a little
I think she's overwhelmed.
strapped
So let's
with
go
all the
to,
towns she's part of.
the
I think
end.
so too.
let's go to the
But
end.
I seriously, we have, I mean, look at how many items we have here.
Priority
that
10,
have-
priority 10, access to legal
But
assistance.
it's not even so
It's
much as
not
what
access,
what
it's
is pressing, this building.
It's, well, and when we have pressing things. I
Right.
think we need to, it's the timely responsiveness. I mean, we have access, theoretically, but it's
But access is
timely
gonna do us no good if we
responsiveness.
can't get a response back when we need it.
Right, that's exactly right. Yep. Yep, timely responsiveness of counsel. And, and again, I think it's not on every little thing. I don't know if you need a subpoint, because you've got subpoints on everything else. But on time-sensitive, high-priority needs, we need better responsiveness from our legal counsel. Does anyone disagree with that?
Nope.
Okay.
All right, so like the man said, one more time. Can you go back all the way to the front?
The front of the priority?
Yeah. So there's your number 1, the building. Number 2 is water system infrastructures and take out grant revenue. Let's just call it revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh.
Save it.
Upgrades
She
and
can
revenue.
replay the tape and
Oh,
capture it.
yeah, if she wants to.
Where it says grant revenue, just take out the word grant.
I would just put in my opinion, again, on this is funding. Water system infrastructure upgrade priorities and revenue sources.
All right, and
That's-
revenue sources.
That's how I think.
Revenue sources make more
Sources,
sense.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
That
It could
makes
be
more
grants,
sense,
it could be
right.
loans,
Right.
it
Yeah,
could be.
yeah.
That's why I
somebody's
just
rich
want to
uncle
limit it
gives
to
us
to
Right.
grant. Okay.
Right.
Let's go for gifts too.
Yeah, gifts are great. However we get the money, we need
There you
money.
go, Bill, add that to your.
So your 3 is increase the pool revenues. Go to number 4.
I know it.
Yep.
Virginia Street terminus issue, Oyster Festival participation, zoning enforcement. Independence Day Fire, okay. Anybody want to make any changes?
I don't, just
Nope.
as far as numbers of priorities, I would think that priority 5, that the Oyster Festival
They go down.
participation should really go down.
I agree, because I'm thinking that fireworks show's coming up soon.
That's coming up to the top. So moves,
7 to 5.
7 to 5.
yeah, switch them.
And on 5, I would say it's almost like does the town want to continue to do the oyster festivals being called into question a little bit? That's the way I took it as a citizen. I know what
no,
I
we
personally
did.
feel about it. I think I've heard what you all think,
I
but I
think
think
everybody
in some ways
does.
need to make a clear statement that, hey, we don't want to kill the oyster festival.
No,
Right.
No, but I
absolutely
don't
not.
think that that is
But you see where I'm
our
getting-
Right.
fifth priority.
Right.
Right.
Because
Oh, I
we
It should be
don't
on the
control
bottom.
it.
It should be
Yeah.
on the bottom of
We
the
don't
priority.
control it.
But when it started to come up, that's what I was starting to think.
Yeah,
That
and
becomes,
nobody,
that becomes.
I would put the Oyster Fest last.
Yeah,
No, put it
No?
6. No, we still, I mean, if we're gonna be promoting stuff, we gotta promote it early too, just like we do anything else.
is that more important than zoning enforcement?
Yes, because who's gonna do the zoning enforcement?
It needs to be done.
I mean, it's not like it's a daily
No, it isn't.
17 things a day kind of thing.
It's, whatever, but I think that our
I
fireworks
guess I'm a little fuzzy on
situation-
priority 6.
yeah, and
Yeah.
To give you another perspective, you might argue about amounts, but this brings in revenue.
Yes.
Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
right.
Definitely.
It does.
And
That
it's
doesn't-
revenue that can't be
that
put on a
does not.
spreadsheet.
That's
Right.
We'll just leave it like
Yeah.
that.
That's a good way to, that's a
Yeah.
good way
I
to
mean, you
think.
can't, you're
That's
not
all.
gonna have there's no clear way to say the Oyster Festival brought the town in $3,020. It's just soft. We don't know. But there's so many people I meet that are here because they came here for the Oyster Festival.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
right, and that gets lost sometimes
It
for the
does.
people that complain about the
You
inconvenience.
know, it's a
Right.
Is the
pain.
fact
We all
that-
live in town. It's a
Right.
pain. It's also a lot of fun,
They-
but I get it.
They
Alright,
don't,
so-
they don't get the sense, and that's where going to the after party or whatever you call it, where they, hand out awards and it's a thank you dinner afterwards, and you hear the spiel that Joe Hyman and the other people put out about what the Oyster Festival means not only to the town of Urbana, but to different organizations in Middlesex County. And there's something like the Alet School. I don't know, Alet School earns what, $100,000 on the weekend or something like that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a
Quite a
crazy
bit.
amount of money.
It's
Yeah.
all volunteer
I-
driven.
Yep.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's an
And-
amazing
And so
thing.
It is.
All right, so that was 7. So here's 8, 9, and 10.
Yep,
Yeah, that's good.
That looks good to me.
yep.
I will say that I put on my list, this is a little bit of a loaded one, but I asked the question, is the town following the cost of living salary increases that the county or the state has done? Because I just
Yes.
got 3% from the state.
Yes.
I would say maybe stick that under 9. I feel like you need to,
But we've,
I know
we've
it
been doing,
costs
we've
money.
been doing
okay,
that.
well,
All right, so-
that could be a newbie
We've-
question. You can write
we've
that one
been
off.
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
it.
and
Okay.
that is one of the things
Okay.
that.
We've
that-
had to argue for it at times. There have been people who've not wanted to do it, but we've prevailed.
You can write that one off as a newbie guy.
Well, no, no, no,
Right.
no, no. wait,
Well,
wait.
but that.
I feel
that-
like it's the least we can do for the people. that
Right.
work.
Okay,
Right.
so under number 9, personnel policy, okay, but factor in
COLA
pay increases
and COLA.
considering COLA and performance.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair.
I mean, that's what the state has been trying to do for years and years and years, and
Right.
the first time somebody gets a sub-assessment and they go to,
Yeah.
argue it.
I
then-
know in private industry, the supervisor had a certain amount of bonus money he could work, and it wasn't a lot, but it's a little bit of an incentive, like, hey, you didn't get your 3% this year because you stink.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
The state has that at the agency head level, but you got to get the assistant secretary, the secretary, the chief of staff to sign off on bonus salary. So does that kind of reflect what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
That's
I think
good.
that's great.
I hate, it's an expense, again.
All right,
You did good.
final thoughts?
All done.
All done.
Good job.
That
Thanks
means-
for
that
doing
means-
this.
Good job, Rob.
Yeah.
You're very good.
No, well,
Time to do this.
Your brains, your brains.
That's good.
Thank you.
You're our quarterback.
Okay, so
Okay.
now we're back
Just
on
call
the
me
agenda.
Brett.
All right, so I think we can go to announcements and requests, right? We don't have a closed meeting,
Ooh, motion
So-
to adjourn.
right? I do want to acknowledge formally
No.
to council that Mr. Costin has had his mother passed and
Yes.
will be going to events associated with that. And on behalf of the council, our condolences go out to you
Absolutely.
and your family.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And that's the only announcement that I have, but I
Yep.
wanted to make that a public acknowledgement.
Is a question, I think I'm really interrupting things now. After all of that discussion, do we not let the public comment? I know it's not on the agenda, but
Nope,
do you all have anything to say?
nope.
Okay.
The public.
So what we have now is
All right, I tell-
motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Oh,
Guys,
my
I'll see you
goodness, I
Monday.
set you on a stiff now.
Oh, you and me both.
I will.